Good afternoon. I don't know how many of you know Dr. Clark, but obviously he is not here. Dr. Clark is in Washington, D.C. today on behalf of Fort Gordon and the Alliance. And right now Congress is in session, and that's very important for him to be there. We have some great information about the Cyber Center that these gentlemen are going to share. But before we get to that, I just want to talk a little bit about what's going on here at the museum. It is, what month is this? March? March. And what's one of the things people are talking about in March? Women's history. Women's history. Yeah, very good. Golf too. Yes, golf as well. We got that little tournament in a few weeks. But we are highlighting a lot of women, and very famous women, and they're here in the museum in one way or another. We have an astronaut who's from Augusta, Georgia. We have singers that are from Augusta, Georgia. Who's the astronaut? Susan Still Kilrain. We have authors that are from here. Author, name an author. Say again? Very good. I think she taught over at Augusta University for a while. She was an artist in residence, I believe. Yes. Another journalist. Yeah. I know you know the answers. Yeah, Judy Woodruff, who is semi-retired now. I think she is still doing her show, but on a much more limited basis. Singers. Jesse Norman, great singer. Oh, come on.
Brenda Lee.
Brenda Lee. Very good. And what about the country western part of this? She was just here probably about 6-7 months ago. It did a great concert, by the way. I went. Amy Grant. She's a homegirl too, yes. So there's a lot of things that are going on the entire month. We also have a Family Fun Day coming up, I believe, on the 19th. It's a Sunday. Bring your children, grandchildren, whatever. Most of it is free in the rotunda, but there's a few things behind the scenes. But we are celebrating women, and I'm a believer in this. It's a little bit like Black History. I have a little bit with Black History Month. I don't believe in designating a month to talk about one's history. I think you should teach it all year long. And I believe that with women's history as well. We're highlighting it a little bit more during these months, but we teach it all year long here. We present those kind of programs. The next brown bag, just so you know, I don't see him here today, but it is Jack Weinstein. He was talking about the new Augusta Jewish Museum. I really emphasize you need to come. It's April 12th. But before that, if you have friends or family, I don't know how many of you book it out of town or not, during Masters Week, I will be here. But we are open the entire week. You know, we have the women's tournament the weekend before, and then we have the kids' pitch. Yeah, that's it. And then the tournament starts. So we are open the entire week. So if you're looking for something to do, bring them on down. We'd love to have you. Today, Dr. Clark was called out of town. He is up in Washington, D.C. today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the cyber experience that many of us have had here. I went to a lot of the talks, and we actually had a couple here in this very room, talking about cyber coming to town and trying to prepare the public of what we were going to be facing. And some of it we're hearing about now. We don't have enough roads. We don't have enough schools. And it's just been an absolute explosion. Initially, they were saying we're going to have 1,000 more people out at Fort Gordon, soldiers. Wow. And we were only going to have 3,000 family members with them. Well, now we're probably closer to 30,000. And that doesn't count the businesses around cyber, all the business support in those. So it has been an issue. I think it's long overdue. It's a little bit like the TIA projects in downtown. I wish it could have happened yesterday. But these are all good things. And it's catch up a little bit now, but it's all good things that are going on. And it's not stopping. It's just, we have all the services that are involved out at Fort Gordon, but what's really cool and what's going on is the educational components. And that's what I was hoping Dr. Clark would be talking about, and that's the Cyber Center. How many have had an opportunity to go down there and do a walkabout? If you don't, I have too. If you haven't done that, you need to call and schedule an opportunity to go on those. They do tours of it. And you know, I went twice. I went once when the one building was built, and of course the parking deck, and then I went again for the second building, and guess what? There's going to be a third now.
Wow.
So it is going to expand. I was just in the newspaper not too long ago. They're going to be building a third building over there. I think what I find most exciting about the Cyber Center is that you have all the different groups that are happily involved with each other. You have the federal government. You have the military, which is another type of federal government, but the military is in and of itself. And then you have Augusta University.
Yes.
That's a big part of what's going on there. And then the whole staffing. Listen, me and computers are, I know enough to probably get in trouble, but when that little black screen comes on and you're trying to do the programming part, no. That's what these guys know how to do. And we're happy to have them. One is David Ivey, and the other is Joseph Holloway. They both work at the Cyber Center. They're going to talk a little bit about what they do there, and then we are going to open it up for Q&A. Believe me, they're going to be able to answer just about any questions you have about the Cyber Center itself. And I'm hoping we have an AU professor here that might be able to help me with the Augusta University connection. But it is strong. I think we all should be excited about what's going on over there and the fort. How many have been out to the fort and seen the new cyber? Yeah, you have? Love to hear about that.
I used to work out there. I've been retired.
Yeah, and some of it they can talk about and some of it they can't. But that is awesome. I believe, Joseph, you're going to be number one today?
Sure.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Joseph Holloway.
All right. So, as you mentioned, my name is Joseph Holloway. My name is Joseph Holloway. I am the Director of Elite Training. That is our training division inside of the Georgia Cyber Center. And so you're right. So the education component to cybersecurity is a big piece of why we're there, right? So we're right smack dab in between Fort Gordon and SRS, so SRNL, Savannah River Site, however you want to word that, right? They've got a lot of different names. So essentially that is why we're there as a training facility. So about workforce development here, right? I just want to mention a couple things real quick. Our mission and vision. I don't think it would be, I think it's prudent for us to go that route first. So our vision here is to lead a revolution in cybersecurity through unprecedented collaboration and innovation. So what does that mean? At the Georgia Cyber Center, there's an ecosystem that we talked about that is government, academia, and private industry all under one roof. We're still one of the only entities that still have that under one roof. So what does that mean? On the nuts and bolts, we have government, so that could be our cyber, Savannah River National Labs, I believe is how it's worded, that actually has a program that they do some research on in our facility. We don't have access to those floors, or at least I don't. But really what I'm about there is certification training ties into K-12 and how we can provide that affordable and relevant training to our next generation. So that means K-12 integrations, correct? Right? So that's a tricky area because K-12 always is one of those is deemed as the have-nots, right? They don't have a whole lot of folks going out and giving that affordable, relevant training to them. So that's what we're looking to try to provide that to them, okay? So our mission there is to cultivate that ecosystem that we just discussed, where combined talent of government, academia, and private industry will deliver the affordable, relevant training, develop the state's cybersecurity workforce, solve complex cybersecurity challenges, and offer unbiased advice to policymakers. This is all in order to provide our state and our nation with the decisive advantage in cybersecurity. So, as a segue to that, I want to mention some of our core values. And real quick, empowerment, agility, respect, service, integrity, and passion. And so for me, where I fall in line with that is passion. It was always a passion of mine to get into cybersecurity. And that's what we try to tell young folks as they're going through this same opportunity. Whenever they're considering cybersecurity as a pathway, it's not always about the money. Sometimes it's just about you having the desire to make something better. Okay? Now, in light of the theme for Women History, right? Does anybody know the reason why Grace Hopper Lane is where the Cyber Center is? Do you know who Grace Hopper is? Okay. So also one of the reasons why there's the coined term for bug in the system. Did you know that? So the term bug was used in an account by computer pioneer Grace Hopper, who publicized the cause of a malfunction in the early electromechanical computer. It was a literal bug in the system. Okay? So with that, with the relevant training, giving certification training, we rely on our cyber range. We also have a cyber range, and if you think about a cyber range, it's essentially exactly what it sounds like. Just like if you went to a golf course or a firing range, you have to practice those skills to get really good at those skills, right? So, you good?
You're still on my thunder, but that's okay.
Okay, I'll pass it off to David Ivey to talk about the cyber range.
Hello, how are you? Okay. My name is David Ivey. I'm the director of the Cyber Range at the Georgia Cyber Center. Kind of like he said, you can take it to golf, firing range, whatever. You've got to go out there and you've got to practice your skills. So one of the focuses that I do, or my range does, is we provide the environments or a safe haven for people to go in there and actually practice their skills. So if you think about ethical hacking or cyber defense, whatever the skill may be, they get to go in there and do that in a safe arena so that they can actually practice and hone their skills before they have to go out and actually do cyber defense or nation-state activities, whatever the case may be. But it's really about providing that environment so that they can actually hone those skills. We do a lot of other different efforts. So one of the things that we do is we support and host CTF type events for different things. One of them being in coordination with the NSA. They go out to a lot of the K-12 schools and do CTFs, so malware challenge or forensics challenge, and really what you're trying to accomplish there is garner that interest at a much lower level. So it's those two events are targeted at middle school and high school to get them interested in cyber and get them on a pathway to go towards that in the future. And we also do other ones. Another great example is we assisted with women in cybersecurity, critical infrastructure, hosting a CTF for that. That one was geared towards ICS SCADA, operational technology, manufacturing in general. A big event that allowed all the participants to go in there and hack an environment and answer the questions and go through a competition type setting. And then we also do some things like state agency training and giving them experience. So we do a statewide exercise for all of the state agencies to participate in a red versus blue type of event, so attack and defense. And it gives them exposure to being able to do defensive activities. We do that once a year for Georgia Technology Authority. And I guess we can go into questions. I really have nothing else unless you have any questions. Yes?
Yeah.
I have a question about, obviously cybersecurity is a big umbrella. What are like the subdivisions? Because I know I was talking to a young man the other day and I had no clue what he was talking about. But I know, defense obviously is an area and then, others, but manufacturing. But is there also like medical cybersecurity and things like that? Or
There is a whole lot, and I probably could not list them all, and if I even tried, I'd probably not hit them all. But you have things like malware analysis. So when somebody does do an attack or they have something that does an exploit on a system, ransomware would be a good example. Everybody's familiar with ransomware. A malware analysis would go in there and analyze that and try to basically reverse engineer that and figure out how that happens so that they can do defenses for that in the future, for example. You do other things like forensics, especially in the law enforcement area, where they've got to go and look and see and figure out what bad activity somebody did so that they can determine everything, so that whether that's got a legal recourse or whether that's just trying to figure out information and be able to pass that on. You've got some other ones like just system security, information security. You have system administration, people who actually make your systems work for you so that you can actually do your job. Network engineering. There's lots more.
So usually how I approach that question, because students usually come up to us when we go to different high school events or expos. Is this thing working? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So those expos, we get those exact same questions. And usually what I tell folks, or students, teachers, whatever, cybersecurity is not necessarily just the field. It is a component of each one of the IT fields. So whether that's software development, where it's systems architecture, what he's talking about, systems engineering, there's going to be some focus of cybersecurity in it because it's not just one area.
We have to figure out how to defend all of this stuff as well, right? So
That's right.
somebody creates an app or a mobile device, that operational technology for your heart monitor, whatever the case may be, all of it's got a relation to cybersecurity in some way, form, or fashion.
Questions?
Capture the
ma'am.
flag. Capture the flag. Basically, it's a guided exercise where they can go in there and answer questions. So it prompts them for something, and they've got to go in and actually perform that, whether that's hacking or defense or whatever, and they answer the question, and it makes it more of a competition type setting so that they're getting something out of that.
Yep, okay. Anybody, another question? Yes, ma'am.
What do young kids, whether they're the elementary, middle school, or the high school kids, need to be studying or learning in order to guide their path in your direction?
Normally we stick with so most K-12 environments have a STEM program, or they have math, science heavy programs, and that's usually the focus for the younger population, just because computer science is more palatable in the beginning, so that's like coding, right? So they do start with maybe block coding with Scratch. MIT is a site that they go on. It's like a little cat. They move the blocks over and make the cat do a little dance. They kind of start them out with that because it's interesting and it's fun. It's like creating a game for a student. And then as they progress through the different years, they get much more advanced and they can pick different pathways.
That'd be fun for adults.
Yeah.
Might be too difficult.
My son is on the spectrum and he's finishing up his associates in information technology, and cybersecurity is what he wants to go into. And so what do you have to offer for our babies on the spectrum that they should want to attend your facility?
That is an awesome question, and honestly, I've had that from a family member here recently. And honestly, I can't give you a great answer right now, but I will say the gamified approach to cybersecurity is captivates a lot of different folks. And why that is because like the CTFs that Dave mentioned, is that it gives them kind of like, hey, here's a challenge. Now go and find and achieve that challenge. Gives them a check mark, and it's awesome. They get to learn some piece of material on how to go actually do that thing, whatever it is, and then they move on to the next step. And so by issuing CTFs, right, or having CTFs, they have those opportunities to expand their knowledge and growth, and then also meet folks and network with folks at these type of events.
You may be going to answer. What is the relationship between Augusta, whatever it is these days, Augusta University, and the cyber school? Are they connected in any way?
So
Go ahead, guys.
yeah, so there you probably saw in the news recently the articulation agreement from Augusta Tech to Augusta University.
Yeah.
I failed to mention that, but So essentially the first floor is kind of our common space, but the second floor is all academia in our building. So that is where on one side of the hall you have Augusta Tech, the other side of the hall you have Augusta University, and those articulation agreements are there so that whenever they finish those 2-year programs, the next year they're going right into an Augusta University if they so choose to go into that different degree program and continue.
My question is,
And the other part of that, I think, to answer your question, I hope, is
I'll let you know.
part of the reason why they developed this ecosystem here, where you have academia, government, and industry partners together, and you specifically have the computer and cyber science, School of Computer and Cyber Sciences. Got it right that time. In that building specifically, and the rest of the AU still has their own campuses. But part of that was to bring all those together, right? We have the scientific researchers that are in Augusta University. You have government there, whether that's our cyber or GBI or Secret Service or whoever else might be in there. And I couldn't name all those if I wanted to right off the top of my head. But really, you get the requirements from government, state government, federal government, whatever it is. You have the researchers there to be able to put those types of resources to it, and you also have the industry there to be able to solve it from an industry perspective.
Okay, but my question is, who's ruling it? I mean, I'm having a hard time envisioning government and college and everything working together.
I don't think there's so much anybody ruling it as per se. It's a collaboration effort.
Somebody has to sit there and say, we're going to do this and we're not going to do that. I mean,
Not so much. The government will put out a requirement out there that says, I need this industry need. I need this thing to solve a problem, whatever it is. And between government, industry, and academia, you're trying to solve those problems, whatever those problems are. So it's not so much everybody's just going to do this thing. It's really trying to get to a collaborative attempt at solving complex problems.
And that's one of the things that Dr. Clark does. That's what the Alliance is about, is to draw those connections
Okay, so
between Fort Gordon and the Cyber Center.
Yeah.
That's the connection.
Yeah.
And is he the person responsible for the alliance?
Tom Clark, and he does board. He has a board of directors as well, so it's a group. But he is a liaison. He doesn't make the decisions, he keeps people talking to each other.
Sure.
What will you be doing 20 years from now that you're not doing now?
Good question.
You wish you had a crystal ball?
the needs of the industry. We've been doing this 20 years ago.
That's a good point.
You know, the way technology advances, it's really hard to say that what we're going to do in 20 years. I mean, like she said, what we did 20 years ago is nothing close to what we're doing now. And you look at the advancements in AI and machine learning and quantum computing, I don't think any of us can make a logical guess of what we could possibly be doing in 20 years. The way that technology is growing and advancing, I couldn't dare to guess.
Given that, how do you, well, first, I'd be interested in hearing how both of you got your own education and training in this. But how do you keep up with things as they change so rapidly?
So I'm unique in a way that I did not necessarily go the traditional education route. So I don't have a degree, or a 2-year or a 4-year degree. I did do some college, but I never finished a degree. I went the route of going to the military to change my career. And I did 14 years in the military. The military did a very good job of setting me up in the field that I'm in. So I got a whole lot of education and experience through that. And then I just transitioned into the civilian world, and I was able to keep progressing my career that way. So I kind of went a non-traditional route for most people. I went straight into actually doing the job. And as far as staying relevant or keeping up with technology, I'll say probably 50% of everything I do on a daily basis continues to be research and figuring out what's next and what's coming. You know, you have to do the work, but everything that you're doing in cyber is always changing. So there's nothing that you're constantly in the books or in online looking and researching answers to problems that you have.
Sure. So I could talk about my progress. So for me, it was essentially having 2 kids and trying to decide what I was going to do from there. I didn't go the traditional route of going straight into college, straight out of high school, but that's one of the reasons why I like going to those expos, because I tell some of the pain points that I suffered from that. I did go into a 2-year program, but I did it as an adult, after hours at night. Worked as a SCADA technician. So SCADA, if you're not familiar with that, supervisory control and data acquisition. So they're the ones for the power company that pull in data from the field. So just to give you a high-level overview of what that is, a lot of radio signals, cameras, different things. So that kind of got me started in it. Did my 2 years associate degree, then went for my bachelor's degree. Moved here to Augusta. So I'm originally from a different area. Moved here to Augusta, and then here at Augusta, I worked at Richmond County Board of Education as a technician for them for a couple years. Then moved back across state lines to just in North Augusta. Worked for Fox Creek High School as the director of technology there for about 5.5 years, and then took the positions here at the Georgia Cyber Center because I've seen some of the pain points from the industry side, K-12 side, and then brought all that with me, right? So kind of give some of that unbiased opportunity to have those conversations with folks and say, look, I've seen this in the classroom. I saw what teachers had to deal with when they don't have the experience that they're coming to teach our next generation, right? So what can we do to help provide that and help that along? So that's just a little bit about my background.
Have cyber courses been incorporated into colleges of education now so that teachers get training in it in college before they go out into the classroom?
It depends if that is their focus. So some of the pain points that come from that is because there's just what it is. There's a shortage of teachers, right? So it's just really hard for a teacher to have that type of experience or have training in cybersecurity and know what the industry pays for that and then want to go in and teach that in a classroom, right? And take that type of pay scale. So that's the hard truth there, right? But the opportunity is still there for us to train the teachers and get them up to a point. If they didn't have the traditional cyber pathway or background, we can do that and provide some form of training to them and help that along so that they can be more prepared in the classroom.
And that's one of the other things that we're actually focused on is trying to educate the K through 12 teachers, for example, because what you have in the K through 12 system is you get a science teacher that said you're going to teach cyber. You get a math teacher, you're going to teach cyber. It's not their specialty, it's not their skill, but they're told to teach it anyway. And so how do we get them to where they can actually teach this and be effective at it so that the schools can actually meet their pathway goals and be on a path to go to the university in cyber or into the professional world as well. They're trying to get the both pathways for the students.
We appreciate y'all training our grandchildren so that
Yes.
they can do this stuff for us.
Yes, absolutely.
I thought you had another question.
One more question?
Are there incubators, opportunities at the Cyber Center? Is that part of y'all's mission also, or?
Internships.
Incubators? Yes, we do a lot of internships. I have several that work for me. Joe has a few that works for me. We get some from AU. We are working on a pathway to get to where we can have interns from any 2-year or 4-year college within the state of Georgia. So that'll be TSG or USG. And then we do have some of the organizations within there are also doing some high school internships. I believe SRC is one of those. I'm not sure off the top of my head the rest. But yes, there is internship opportunities. Some of them paid, some of them are research related, some of them are, it just depends. But I think last I heard it was somewhere around 40 interns in GCC right now.
Aren't there startup businesses that are under that roof as well?
Yes.
People that are wanting to get into some kind of...
They have the clubhouse there, which
Clubhouse
is trying to help with
Yeah, I
small
got you.
business incubation. And then we also do SkillBridge internships as well for transitioning military that are coming in to transition to the civilian world. And you had one more?
is the main component of your center, the training part of it, or do you actually do some cyber problem solving as well?
Both. It's the Georgia Cyber Innovation and Training Center, so it's targeting training and innovation. So you're trying to hit both. Training is a big part of that. Some of that is coming up with new innovative ways to do training and education. Some of that is just solving industry problems or government problems in an innovative way, right? So Civic would probably be a great example of that within the building. That's the Cyber Fusion and Innovation Center. They work directly with our cyber to get their problems, and they issue them back out to industry to get industry to solve them. Very high level. I don't have their speech on me, but they are there to as a nonprofit that works with our cyber and industry to solve industry problems.
Guys, let's give them a round of applause, please.